Welcome back. Do you want to know how to save money during the planning process? Let's find out. So the next question is how to save money during the planning process. What are different ways to save a few bucks here and there? What do you think?
I think it's zoning in on what's important to you. So if photography is very important, maybe something else like your cake can be a little simpler. On the flip side, if your cake is very important and you want 15 tiers, go for it, but you're going to have to maybe be flexible somewhere else. I guess this is when DIY could come into play. I'm a big fan for keeping things like favors very simple.
Right.
Maybe issuing a save the date, but if you want to, don't be afraid to use like Evites. Use your wedding website, make things digital. And then maybe you make that save the date something, people can keep, like a magnet, some kind of token people can keep. But definitely utilizing, the internet and just kind of getting creative with, things that don't always have to be, Pinterest ready.
Right.
I think that's caught us up a lot is you scroll, you like it, you try and recreate it, and you realize, that was kind of pricey.
I completely, agree on that too. I mean, I always tell couples, or I guess I don't know if I always tell them this, but my thoughts on this are just, the stuff that you take away are the things you're going to look at the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. The stuff that's there, especially the things that you don't see that aren't on display, like I wouldn't put too much into it. I mean, like you just said, I think you pretty much summed up this whole thing perfectly. I mean, like invitations. I mean, that's not going to be anywhere in your photos and your video, and and people are going to look at it and go, okay, cool. That's about and that's about it.
Yeah.
Some decorations for sure. I mean, depending on what it is. I mean, centerpieces, things like that. I mean, they can look nice. In like room photos, They're not going to be, this isn't something that people are like, oh, what a fantastic center. I mean, no one's going to, people are going to walk away.
I'm all about a good centerpiece, Steve.
Yeah, but the question is, would you walk away as a guest remembering how amazing that centerpiece was at that wedding?
Maybe
Probably not, right? It just depends. So, I mean, it depends on the individual. It depends on what's important to them. But focus on the stuff that, again, that you're going to take away. So maybe it is a centerpiece. I mean, maybe that is, something that's important to you. I always feel like with photos and on the photo video side of it, this is not a place where you really want to, skimp necessarily. There's affordable and really, really good. Mm-hmm. But there's also cheap and cheap. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. It's like you don't want to be stuck in a situation where, you're with a company because it was really cheap. And you're like, oh, it's photography, or oh, it's video, and, I'm not really going to care about this because I guarantee you, you're going to care about it. And if anything, you're going to be looking back at it for the rest of your life. And not only that, but your family members are going to be looking at it for the rest of their lives. And these photos and videos are going to live generations beyond us. You don't want to be in a situation where you're embarrassed to break out anything that you have. That's a big deal. You want to be in a situation where, you took the time to spend what you could afford, but made sure that no matter what it is that you were spending, whether it's, it doesn't have to be a lot necessarily, but whatever that might be, that you're paying for the highest quality that you could get at the price that you could afford. It doesn't mean you have to go out and spend like $7,000 to $10,000 on a wedding film or $5,000 to $7,000 on photography necessarily. But at the same time, I mean, this is stuff that you're going to be looking at the rest of your life. And the other thing too is that when it comes down to the photo video side of things, I always err on the side of stuff that isn't too trendy. And the reason why is because we've all seen those like 1980s and 90s, like wedding photos where, I mean, were like something that was really, like
I don't know where you're gonna go with this, but I'm excited.
Or something that was like really trendy at the time is ridiculous later on. I mean, because clothes will change, hairstyles will change. I mean, today what we're doing right now will not be what we're doing 20 years from now. I mean, that's fine. Eyewear will change. Eyeglasses change. Cell phones change. I mean, those are the things that change, right? But there are still some things, and technology will change, and something that looks outdated will look outdated. But it'll look dated, not outdated. There's a difference, right? You've seen, there are classy shots of, even though, it looks like it was the 1960s, it is what it is. But classy photos from the 1960s that still look great today, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, it's just that the trends and the styles were different. But there's also, like, really cheesy stuff. Like, for example, in the 2000s, and, like, the mid-2000s, when I first entered this game, there was a lot of bad crap going on, especially in the video side of things. Like, stupid stuff. like love stories were really big at the time. And this stuff couldn't have been cheesier than cheesy. And to give you an example, like I'll never forget, you know, because a person who was entering the market, like there wasn't a lot out there at the time. Now this market's very different on the video side of things than it was back then. Back then it was a lot of old guys with really big cameras and these like lights they would turn on and immediately give you an instant migraine because they were so bright. It was awful. And it's one of the reasons why I got in the game, because I was like, this is so bad. I'm like, wait, this could be done completely different. At the time I was like, you know, 24 and ready to rule the world. And, you know, it was one of those things where it was like, I just felt like we could do it so much better. And it was just bad. And I'll never forget going to an association meeting, because that was the only place you could find these guys, like to talk to them, was at like your videographer association. And they were all teaching these courses, right? And like the love stories were so bad. Like I'll never forget one guy displayed what he had done, and he had like a groom like yeah.
Oh my gosh. I need to hear this.
He had a groom. No, he had a bride walking through a forest looking like she's just thinking. And then somehow he used some like After Effects or some sort of software to find a way to have the groom come out of the tree trunk and present her with a ring, like they were reenacting their engagement. And this was like with all this like sparkly like shit, like all, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And at the time, this was a company that like all these people were going with. And it was awful. It wasn't just that. Like, it was like, because they were teaching this stuff and everybody was looking to them because they were kind of the standard, like all these other companies were copying. And I was like, And I did like a complete 180 from that. And I was like, you know what, we're doing film trailers. This is when film trailers were really new. And like, you know, which were even, they were just a little bit longer than like an Instagram film. And I'm like, no, we're doing stylized film trailers. That's kind of how we had made our name. I'm not saying we're the first company to do it, but we were one of the first that was doing it. And because we didn't do all that stuff, people started gravitating toward more of this kind of like not so like gimmicky look to it.
Sure.
You know? This is a really long story just to explain that you want to stay away from stuff that's super trendy, right? And that's the thing, because that will look dated and cheesy. And a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times with these companies, you know, no matter how much you're spending, and it can be really expensive. Like the guy that was doing this was charging like, you know, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 for these videos.
Wow.
Yeah, and people were paying it, and you know, but I'm sure years later, these couples have got to look back at that, just going, "Oh my God," you know, they wouldn't want to show it to anyone, you know. And I think that's you know something to look at. So if you're still following this, essentially the big thing is just to not.
If you're still here.
If you're still here after that story. The big thing is just to stay away from trends. I would say if you want to cut your costs, you know, just don't go. Just whatever you can afford, find the best quality for that number, for sure. How are you saving money? Leave a comment, let us know. Also, don't forget to subscribe, turn on those notifications, smash that like button. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.